Please give a warm Kansas City welcome to Josh Johnson, everybody.
I've been reading a lot of history lately. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's such a fraught time. Feels better to read history just to be reminded, like, oh, that was worse. You know? And you also get a real sense of yourself from reading about the past. You see the mistakes people made, so hopefully you don't make them and everything. And I was reading a lot about Juneteenth because Juneteenth is coming up, and admittedly, like, you know, I learned about Juneteenth pretty young, you know? And I can tell from the scattered clapter that a lot of you don't necessarily celebrate Juneteenth. I'll put you on game real quick. This is the thing. I was reading about it because it's probably one of the most fascinating times in American history to me, because it was like the fulfillment of a promise in a way. America is a place for freedom, and it's a place for understanding yourself and building out an identity to be free with, right? And it's something that we were founded on, but it's something that took a long time to come to fruition, you know? And Juneteenth, by the way, is not a number that black people made up. That I understand it does kind of sound like that as well. Like, Juneteenth is a holiday, just so y'all know. Because sometimes, as black people, we do make up numbers. If you know a black person, especially in the South, you've probably heard them say 5011. And 5011 is, I want to be clear, not 5011. It's also not 5011s. It's just our way of saying too many. You know, you'll hear somebody be like, I told you 5011 times, take out that trash. And you know that a child is about to be whooped. You know? Or somebody will be like, he got 5011 baby mamas, and you'll be like, he is a slut. Now, they'll be like, oh, he think he's somebody because he got like $50, something like that, which is just their way of saying a lot. But it would be better to say the actual amount. Which reminds me, okay, this is digressing for a second, but it was very funny to me. One time, a dude from my hometown won the lottery, and he was calling everybody, telling them that he won the lottery, but he didn't win the Powerball. He just won some money, and so he was bragging, but he did. So basically, okay. Because he told me he told me he did this, but then he told me how much he made. I was like, you shouldn't have called anybody. That's not a stranger phone call flex amount of money. That I get that you won, I'm happy for you, but that's not the amount to be sending people off with. Because he called his ex and he was like, hey, looks like you fucked up because I just won the lottery, all right? You looking at the winner of $60,000. And I was like, that's salary. Like, don't do this. After taxes, that is $30,000, sir. No, but, you know, Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday to commemorate the slaves in Galveston, Texas, being told of their freedom and it being made official, right? And the weird thing is there's a lot of misconceptions about when slavery actually ended. Because a lot of people think it ended in 1863 with Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation. But the thing with that is that the southern states had already seceded. So to sign the Emancipation Proclamation and then send it and be like, y'all have to let your slaves go, but this is now another technically country that you are at war with because they wanted to leave the Union. That would be like if Canada was like, America, y'all need to recycle more. And then we were like, if you don't shut your maple ass up, like that's like... because the South was at war with the North, this was to, hurt the southern states that had slavery. And one of the states was actually left off of the Emancipation Proclamation because they had already taken control of it. And it said nothing about any sort of slavery that was happening on the northern side. Like, the northern side isn't known for slavery, but there were people in the North who had slaves, right? And so then, 1864, I believe it was the Senate that passed it, and then the House passed it in 1865. And then they told everybody later. Really dragged their heels with that one. And this is the thing, is that if you really want to be technical with it, slavery wasn't actually abolished until the very end of 1865, like December 6th or something like that. It's just that Juneteenth, it's easy to barbecue in the summer. So we just take that one, But it is a fascinating time in America because it was America fulfilling a promise that it made to itself since its inception. And so many people fought it. That's what's so crazy. Like, America was about to be everything that it was supposed to be, and then there were people that were, standing in the way. And the thing that is, like, the fight for freedom in America, for every person, right? Because every person, no matter who you are, your ancestors had to fight for some form of freedom to be here. Everyone from every ethnicity, everyone from every background, has had some sort of fight to get where they are now. Even the people who can trace their lineage back to the Mayflower, America still had to have a fight to be America. We started out as traitors to Britain, according to them. We were like, nah, we're going to do our own thing. We're not sending you anything else. We pay taxes to you. Y'all don't even come over here. We like coffee better anyway. And this is the thing, though, is that you look at that time, and for every war that America had to fight to be America, to become America, the way that we understand it now, black people fought in those wars. It's not talked about as often, but there were black people that fought in the American Revolution. There were black people that were fighting right alongside other white people in other regiments. Not every regiment was even fully segregated. And, part of it was the desperation. We're fighting for our existence as a country, and then we win. And then the founding fathers, everybody's like, yeah, we're free. And black people were like, yeah, we're free. And then they were like, what do you mean we? No? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that an insane feeling? You fight for the place to become the place, and you don't get to be part of the place yet. And then, all the way up to the Civil War, for us to have a truly, deeply imperfect union, there was this battle that took place, and there were black people that fought on both sides of the Civil War, which is confusing. Yeah, I mean, because the white soldiers, you can kind of see where they stand and why they stand there. But any black soldier fighting in the Confederacy, you are kind of like, what? What? And I don't think anyone would have been more confused than a black Union soldier, because then if they meet in the battlefield, he's like, turn around. Now, it's important to understand that whether it was the American Revolution or whether it was the Civil War, on both sides, black people fought for promises. The same way that America made a promise to itself, it also made promises to every people of every nation that would come here, right? It's why people come from Ireland, from Italy, from all these places that immigrated, that came to Ellis Island. They came for that promise, and that was a promise that was also made to the black people that were already here. You'll be part of America, right? And so in some weird way, sometimes it was due to the threat of death, sometimes it was just to get off the plantation, sometimes it was with the promise of freedom. There were black people that fought in the Confederacy, and I'm pretty sure they didn't try that hard. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a black officer, I mean, I wouldn't have been an officer. I guess a black soldier in the Confederacy, I think when I shoot, I'd be like, oops. I miss. I hope he doesn't get over here and free everybody. That'd be terrible if they just ran up on us and started being like, you free, you free, you free. You know what I mean? Like, I would hate to get shot with freedom. You know what I mean? I've heard it's terrible, you know? But yeah. And then, you know, Juneteenth started out as just a holiday in Texas because it was about what happened in Texas. It spread to other states, you know? Other states that ratified the 13th Amendment would then, you know, have more and more black people in those states wanting to celebrate Juneteenth. And once again, kept it Juneteenth, not because of when it was ratified in the state, because sometimes it was a different year, sometimes it was a different time of year, but June is good for barbecuing, right? But it was probably one of the most awkward times in America because all of a sudden this thing had happened. There were people who made their whole way of life the terrible treatment of other people they didn't see as people. And don't be weird. I'm not saying that these were your slaves or something. Don't tighten up on me, okay? Everyone I'm talking about is dead, all right? Don't be weird. But this is my thing. I guess this is what I come back to. It's that time, how that happened, right? You know, I just imagine what would it be like in a household that had slaves, and now they're arguing. They're arguing in the kitchen or something. You know, the couple that own the plantation. She's just like, Bo, what do we do? It's illegal now. We can't. It's illegal. We can't do this anymore, Bo. It's illegal. He's like, what do you want me to do, Barbara Jean? What do you want me to do? You want me to go out there and be like, oops? What do you want me to do? What's the plan here, okay? All right, because we are outnumbered. Gonna have to handle this delicately, you know? And you had to handle it delicately because for the entire time that you owned people, you know, how'd you treat them? How'd you treat these people? Because they are people. How'd you treat these people who can see you now, who can speak to you? What'd you do? You know? Did you commit some of the most heinous crimes of all time? Because at best, you never said please or thank you. So you're reasonably terrified now that they can, you know, so they're just arguing in the kitchen, I imagine, just like, what do you want me to do? What's this? And then somebody who worked in the house overheard the argument and was like, we're free? I'm gonna let this marinate on the stove. I'll be right back, I promise. I'll be right back. You know? Because what would that have been like? What would that have been like, the secret message going from house to house? You know, we already had passageways for communication and passageways to escape slavery through the Underground Railroad. This message was getting around, right? We're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, we're free, right? So now someone in the house comes outside to the field and they're like, hey, y'all, I don't know how to tell you. Okay, I didn't think what I was about to say before I just sort of said, hey, and then, okay. I didn't prepare a speech or anything. Look, look. I know that we don't all talk much. Because I'm in there, y'all out here. And I hear what y'all say about me. It's hurtful. Like y'all yell it, so I, you know what I mean? Like but we're free. We're free to go. And then everybody was probably like, free to go where? You know what I mean? Because this is the thing about the 13th Amendment that is mind-blowing. It abolished slavery except in the case of the prison, right? And the practices that you could constitute as slavery continued way after slavery. There was sharecropping. There were all of these different little systems to keep slavery intact. It's why we have unpaid internships, you know? Someone's like, but I'm white. Yes, even you. No. Just imagine that. Imagine someone tell you, hey, we're free. Because what would freedom feel like? You wouldn't know. No. And free to go where? Free to go kill them? I'm just joking. That would be fair. No, it's just, it's mind-blowing to me because, one of my friends, I grew up in Louisiana, so I knew about Juneteenth being so close to Texas, and it was celebrated in Louisiana from a young age. A lot of people try to act like they always celebrate it now, everyone's embarrassed to learn something, you know what I mean? Like, it is a true thing. You see people in New York that are like, oh yeah, Juneteenth every year for Juneteenth. I'm like, all right, maybe, but... all right. You know what I mean? But I had a friend down south. He's white, and he took like an ancestry lineage thing, and he did the 23andMe. And a lot of my white friends did the 23andMe and just so you know, just as white people, so you know, your black friends, we don't care. We don't we don't care at all. Like, oh, you're more Swedish than Finnish. We don't. Never crosses our mind. We never, you know what I mean? Just so you know. And I truly, a lot of the people that take the test, I don't think they care either. If I'm being honest with you, we're just talking as friends right now. I don't think they care. I think they even take the test just to see if they can say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, they take because anytime one of your white friends is like, hey, I am actually 5% black. You're like, all right, why are you? I don't know, I just wanted to know if I could sing the whole song now. I'm just a Kendrick fan, and I wanted to, see if I could. No, but he did the ancestry thing, and he did the DNA test, and he found through both that his family never, in America for a huge portion of his lineage, but they never owned or worked with anyone who operated in a way. They never owned slaves. Yes. And if you've never watched the white guilt leave somebody's body. This man was floating. This man was floating in waves. Just like, I'm too Irish to be bad.
Give it up right now for the one and only Josh Johnson!
I reflected a lot and I came up with a lot of New Year's resolutions this year. I don't normally do it. I almost never do New Year's resolutions, but this year I had kind of a bunch because it just so happened I was really thinking about myself and life when the time came. And the problem with New Year's resolutions, the reason that they're so hard to keep is that a year is a year long. If you could make a New Year's resolution and really only had to do it for like 3 weeks, you knock it out of the park. But there's something about the fifth Monday where you're like, again? No. And I think we should all cut ourselves some slack, genuinely, when you have trouble making your New Year's resolution a habit or sticking to it, because New Year's resolutions are as old as calendars. So as long as we've been keeping track, we've been trying to be better and failing. It's very human. And our New Year's resolutions, by and large, are things that we're gonna do or stop doing to stop hurting ourselves. If you read through history and you go back to the New Year's resolutions of whole civilizations, right? The Babylonians, the Romans, these people would have ceremonies, and usually a lot of what they did, a lot of their New Year's resolutions was to appease their gods or the tribe at large. It wasn't just about them. And all of our New Year's resolutions, for the most part, are things we're going to stop doing or start doing to stop hurting ourselves. They had New Year's resolutions to stop hurting other people. You read back in history, there were just New Year's resolutions of whole tribes that were like, this year, y'all, we not gonna pillage. We were doing too much last year. We were pillaging over here, pillaging over here. Not everything need to be pillaged. We need to start focusing on us, all right? Even probably had a tribe leader came up with a slogan, we not gonna pillage, we gonna be a village. No, it's as old as time. And admittedly, there are some modern New Year's resolutions. I do know a few people in my life that have had to make New Year's resolutions to stop hurting other people. You know, it's rare, but it does happen. Like I had one friend nonchalantly said, you know what, this year, I'm gonna cut less people. First of all, I didn't know she was cutting anybody. Second, your New Year's resolution is day one. Your New Year's resolution is to cut less. You didn't say none. None was an option. The year hasn't happened yet. You haven't even met who will be worth cutting, and you're still like, I might maybe give them a pass. Said, I'm gonna cut less people, and I was like, what do you mean cut less people? They were like, oh, you know how it is. I hate being asked or told if or that I know how something is when I clearly have no idea how it is. Oh, you know how it is. You go out and somebody press you, and next thing you know, you holding the blade on you. It's like, what life do you think I'm leading? What life are you leading? When are you doing this? I had a couple of New Year's resolutions. One of them was to focus on my health, which I'm already regretting. Genuinely, because this is my thing. When you try to focus on your health in the beginning of the year, you really think you're gonna do it, and that's why I make it a New Year's resolution. If you tell me what I'm doing wrong, if you tell me what's wrong with me in like September, I'm probably gonna be like, then I'll die. Sorry. I like doing that. But if we're starting a new year and you're like, don't do that, I'll be like, okay, I'll try, right? No, but the problem is when you focus on your health, you have to go to the doctor. And going to the doctor is a little bit too exact and final for me. If something's wrong with me and I'm telling a friend about it and we're just sort of going back and forth, spitballing about what it could be, it's almost kind of fun. You're like, maybe it's that. Oh, maybe it's that. Let's Google it. Oh, we shouldn't have Googled it. You know what I mean? But when you go to the doctor's like, no, you sick. And basically, I had to go to the doctor pretty early because, all right, it's embarrassing to admit, but I feel like if I'm open, if I'm vulnerable about it, then it'll hopefully remove some of the stigma. Okay, I had to go to the doctor because too many, I would even say most of my farts were whistling. Okay, all right. So if you're going through what I'm going through and you hear that laughter, that's why I'm doing this, to try to break through, try to show the normalcy of what was happening to me. So basically, when I would fart, I don't even fart all the time, but every once in a while, one goes, and it was just having at the tail end, very tail end, it was having just a little like to it. I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't know why it was happening, but I was hearing it. And I'm not like a musician in that way. I don't know a lot of music theory, but it did seem like a bit of a D sharp to it. Like it had a little bit of that fire alarm, a little bit of that at the very end, right? And so one day I was walking and I don't even remember the food that I had, but it hit me in the wrong way. And so I sounded like a piccolo. I was walking and my steps were just a little fluty. And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I walk and listen to music. So I'll have my big old headphones on, they're noise canceling so I can really enjoy the music and everything. And I knew I had a problem because the cut through it was so high of a pitch, it must have got under the noise canceler. And so I was just walking, and I don't know, once again, about you, but when I'm wearing my headphones, I'm listening to music and I'm walking, it feels like I can fart however loud I want because I can't hear it, so then it must not be that bad. I know that's not actually how sound works, but it's just kind of what goes through my head while I'm doing it. And I was walking, I just heard a sort of like, do you remember? And I was like, uh-oh, I should probably talk to somebody. And so I did. I went to the doctor, and when I got to the doctor, I had a bit of an issue because I even tried to use as many big words as I could to describe what was happening to lessen the blow of what I had to say. So I was like, my flatulence is having some orchestral notes to it. And the doctor was like, what? And I'm like, don't do that. One of the main reasons I hate going to the doctor is because if you're a doctor, and especially if you're older than me and you're a doctor, I'm assuming you've been a doctor for a while, right? And if you've been a doctor for a while, then I'm assuming you've seen a lot of stuff. But somehow when I go to the doctor and I tell them my problem, they've never heard of it before. You got all these encyclopedias in here with all these diagrams of people's bodies and stuff, but then I tell you what I'm having happen, you're like, what? And then I just made it simple. I was like, look, my farts are whistling. He was like, what? And I was like, that's worse. What happened to bedside manner? And so, he fixed it. I'm fine now. It doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, basically there was something going on where I had pretty much like overexerted myself, and he explained it better, but I guess my organs were kind of like a Tom and Jerry configuration, and it was just making me whistle at the very end, and then it went back to normal. My second New Year's resolution was to be very mindful about what I do and say on a podcast. Now, I'm not perfect, but this has been the downfall of a lot of people. I'm not even saying that there's never going to be a podcast where I talk out of pocket. I don't know. It's just talking. And it's so much talking that along the way, you say something dumb or something that doesn't age well or something that you don't even really think. Maybe just talking, right? You get anybody to talk for hours and hours and hours, and eventually they'll say something pretty dumb. So I'm trying to be mindful about what I do and say on a podcast, because when podcasts started, before there was a ton of money in it, it was just one of two things. It was either people who had such a great rapport with each other that listening to them felt like listening with them, like being there with them and just having a party with your friends, and it was an interesting conversation that you felt like you were a part of, right? Or there was a very interesting person, an incredibly interesting person, and then someone had them on their podcast who was a good interviewer. And through giving a good interview, they pulled all of these interesting and beautiful things out of this very interesting person and then gave it to you. And so you either got some sort of education from it or you got some sort of community from it, right? And now podcasts, I think we made too many microphones. Because now it's a genuine mess. You know? Like, I watched what I think was maybe one of the most important podcast clips of all time. One that exactly, perfectly describes what I'm kind of talking about. Mike D has a podcast. And in that podcast, he was talking to OG Tulo, a rapper. And while he was talking to him, OG Tulo reaches into his pocket and somehow shoots himself in the leg. I'm encouraging everyone to watch this clip because it's truly one of the most important moments in podcasting ever. I had so many questions when I saw this man shoot himself in the leg. First of all, what gun is little enough? But also, what pocket is big enough? Because you can't see a gun. He's literally got his hand in his pocket, which means there's a gun and his hand in his pocket. How deep are these pockets? They're like optical illusions. This man reaches into his pocket, and I want to be clear here, okay? OG Tulo and Mike D, they weren't having some sort of argument. Mike D wasn't coming at him. It's not like he was reaching in his pocket to grab his gun. If anything, it looked like he was reaching in his pocket for something else. And can I just say, don't put your gun in your pocket. But if you do, make sure your gun is the only thing in that pocket. Please do not put your gun and your keys in your pocket. I'm begging you not to put your gun and your phone in your pocket. Because this man looks like he's trying to move the gun. When you rewatch it, I've watched it 2,000 times. It looked like he's trying to move the gun out the way to get something else. And I'm telling you, it's not worth it to have your gun and your gum in the same pocket. This dude reaches into his pocket. Bam! And then Mike D, who's sitting across from him, Mike D goes, "Who shot who?" They're facing each other. He turns to the cameras out there where the people are, who I guess are producing the podcast. And he turns to them and goes, who shot who? Somebody got shot? Sir, how often are people shooting each other at your studio for the first question to be, who shot who? He didn't say who shot who as in like, oh no, a gun went off. He turned as if to say, y'all, we are trying to do something. This man turns, who shot who? Somebody got shot? When you look for the clip, OG2, now that's O, letter O, G, letter G, we're capital letters, the number 2, like an email, OG2Low, right? OG2Low is fascinating to me because there are a lot of rappers who their name is not, it's not true to who they are as a person, right? But to his credit, OG2Low shoots himself in the leg and only goes, his reaction to shooting himself in the leg, all he does is go, ooh. This man doesn't cry, he doesn't freak out, he just makes the face you make when you drop a casserole, just, You know the face you make when you get caught coming home after curfew, you in the dark, you think you made it, then the lights come on and you're like, ooh. He makes the face you make when there's like 2 people arguing out in the world and you don't know either one, but then one of them is like, that's why I took your man, ooh. This man simply goes, ooh. And then a person behind the camera calls out and goes, Low, you good? There are a few things I hate more than being asked if I'm good when I should not be good. When I'm clearly, people wait till you hurt to ask if you're okay. And I understand the reflex question, but you just saw something very bad happen. You saw a man reach in his pocket where he clearly forgot he had a gun. And then shoot himself in the leg, and now you go, Low, you good? And OG2Low simply says, I think. And so I'm trying to be more mindful about what podcasts I do and what I do on them, because I've seen how bad it can go. You know? Another New Year's resolution I had was to take better pictures of my male friends. Okay? As men, we gotta start taking better pictures. This is rough. We wonder why it's a struggle out here, but I'm telling you, I know good men. Not just decent men, I'm talking about good, wholesome men, father figures, father material, marriage material men who are out here taking pictures forehead first. I'm talking about forehead presented, forehead shiny, optical illusion forehead forward. I don't even know how you get that angle. Did you put the camera on your head? You know, because that's what happens. As a man, you don't get that many good pictures taken of you by other dudes, you know? And then you post it because it's one of the only good pictures you have. You want to go on a dating site, you want to meet people, you go ahead and you post the pictures you have of yourself because what you have is what you have. And then you put that out into the world and you wonder why there aren't many bites. There aren't a ton of bites because when people are scrolling through your pictures, you look blurry. You look like if they met you, you would only be a memory, you know? You know what I'm talking about? You know that wave look when it's like, it's almost a good picture, but there's that movement at the end, so you're a little blurry on one side? Will she be dating a ghost? Who knows? We've got to start taking better pictures of each other's men. And I know it's hard. I know it feels weird to like take, because women are so good at doing it for each other. They'll take incredible pictures of each other. It won't even be picture day. It'll just be some good lighting in a random place. And they'll be like, hold up, stop. Let me get you. No. Pose, quick. Yep, see, this is good. You know? It's tough. We don't try enough. We don't try. Even if you muster up the courage as a man to know that you look good that day and you ask your boy to take a picture of you, as men, we get too uncomfortable trying to make each other look good. Like you're scared to try to make your boy look hot. Even if you're looking good, bona fide, looking good, anybody can see it. You're dressed well, shaved, everything, right? And then you hand the phone to your boy. He's like, got it. That's not helpful. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. That's why when I post the picture, I look like smoke. Because you were so uncomfortable, you couldn't stop, let the phone rest for a sec. The phone didn't even get to adjust. Do you know the technology we have in our pockets? And the phone was like, I didn't get that at all. Women will do anything to take a good picture of their friend, especially when the friendship is mixed. Like when you're out with your male, female friends and you're just walking, going to a restaurant, whatever, and then there's a moment where it's like, hey, this is good lighting, stop, let me take a picture of you. I've seen work put in. Because they love their friend. The things I've seen, it's not just one of these. I've seen women get angles for each other. Angles that it never occurred to me to get. The way that I've seen women work their knees backwards. No, you be still. I'm good. You be still. That's it right there. That's it. No, men take such bad pictures of ourselves and have such bad pictures of us taken. I'm pretty sure that's why nobody looks for us when we go missing. Be honest right now. If there is a man that goes missing, if they even put his picture on the local news, it's the worst picture of him if it's not a picture from high school. If it's not his high school picture with that bow tie or whatever, it's just him being like... And then you see the picture and you're like, I think he did it. I think he kidnapped him. That's what happened. I solved it. We don't need to look. That's why when you put a woman's picture on the national news, it's any picture. It's just a picture of her that's recent. And people are like, find her! Because it's a good picture. Another New Year's resolution that I made was to start making, how do I put this? I want to start having manlier mannerisms. The entire time I've been alive, I've just been moving the way I move because it's what feels natural to me in the moment, but I'm seeing every once in a while, there'll be someone that comes into my life that shows me that actually, maybe not this way. When I was young, I was working this job, and there was a dude on the job who was he was in prison, and he was on work release. And he took me under his wing and was trying to teach me how to be more of a man. I didn't ask him to, but I also didn't really know how to take up for myself. So I would do little things, and he would try to correct those things for me, right? And I remember one time I walked in the room, and it was pretty stinky. And because it was stinky, I tried to waft, in front of my face, like waft, like you would when it stinks. You're like, ooh, it's stinky, right? You know what I mean? Like, you've done this. Don't act like it was stinky, right? But the way I did it, my hands were too fluid when I was, because it was stinky, but I felt like this was more efficient to get it out of my face. I was like whipping it out of the way, right? And he saw me and he was like, stop doing that. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, your hand looked like a whisper, dog. One time he tried to, dap me up, but he had big hands. And so when he did it, I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. And so I pulled my hand back, and I pulled my hand back like, and he was like, don't do that. I'm like, what should I do then? He's like, I don't know, but not that. The worst one was, people talk about fight or flight, and people often don't talk about freeze, which is what I did in this particular situation. This dude had been on work release, right? And some dudes who he must have got into it with before he went to jail found out where he worked. They waited for him to take a smoke break, and they tried to jump him. Now, initially, when they tried to jump him, they were just pressing him outside, talking. I don't know if he owed them money. I don't know what the situation was. All I know is I'm walking out with the trash, and then they swing on this dude, all right? And then he, by himself, fights off both of these dudes, and he's not really losing or winning, but he'll take one to give one, and then he'll get one good enough that they back up a bit so he can focus on the other one, and then go back to this guy and everything. But then at one point, my man, he gets clipped. He gets clipped by one of these dudes, right? And they have him with an uppercut, and he goes backwards. And I'm not proud of it, but it was my genuine reaction. When he got hit, I did go. Because apparently I touch my cheeks when I gasp. I didn't know that about me either, but nothing had happened to make me gasp in a long time. So when it happened, I was like, oh. And people look at you different when you do like a full Macaulay Culkin, when you hit them with the Macaulay, Another one of my New Year's resolutions is to take a break from Facebook Marketplace. This is my thing. It's not even that I'm buying a lot, it's just everyone that I seem to buy off of on Facebook Marketplace I'm never meeting them at a good point in their life. Right? So when I meet them, there's a whole energy to it that doesn't feel like just regular commerce. As an example, I went over one time, I needed a bed frame, so I went to purchase the bed frame. Facebook Marketplace, I show up, right? I've already paid, and I show up to pick up the bed frame, and it's not as if I came there to make a friend. I wasn't trying to sit down and have tea or something like that. I really was there to pick up the bed frame and be out. But the way I was being rushed the entire time was making this start to feel like some stolen goods. Do you know what I mean? Just I'm like, all right, so can I help you put it somewhere? Do you have a truck or do you have something? I was like, oh, okay, all right, calm down, right? And then while taking the bed frame, there's a piece missing. And so then they go to get this piece. And when they go to get the piece, there's a truck that pulls up. And then when they walk back out, they're like, oh no. And then this guy gets out of the truck and he's like, Amy, why? Why? And I'm just here for the bed frame. He's like, Amy, why? And she's like, I told you why. I'm done with you. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of everything that you do. I've given you so many chances. And now she is yelling over my shoulder. I'm here. I'm where I am now. She's right here yelling at him who's behind me going, why? So I am kind of like this child of divorce in this moment. He's like, why? I told you why. No, but why, Amy? Is it him? And I can honestly tell you right now, it didn't look like it would be me, because when he said, is it him? I went, huh? And then she went, what? No. She didn't have that. Now I'm looking at both of them like, oh. And they clearly had some stuff to work out, and I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't get the piece because she was still looking for it. He was crying, so I left the bed frame. Another time. There was another time where I was going to buy a teddy bear. I had someone that I was trying to get the teddy bear for because they like novelty teddy bears. I was trying to do something a little sweet and everything. And I go there to pick up the teddy bear. And not everybody posts the dimensions of the item that you're buying. But when I get there, the teddy bear, my size, right? So way bigger than I was expecting. The teddy bear is like a 5 foot something teddy bear. And this particular teddy bear, which was apparently like novelty because it was made like handmade and everything, from behind, the teddy bear had a lot of ass. Like a twerkable amount of ass. Like it was cheeky. And so, you know, I'm trying to pick it up and it weighs a man. And so I was like, okay, maybe not. Because now even if I give this as a gift, 1, it's too big, and 2, I'm gonna have to explain what's happening back here. I went to buy a fridge one time, and I get there and I'm talking to this guy about the fridge, like where I should go get it, and he's looking at me confused. And he's standing right outside of the address that I was given, and he sounded all confused. And then he tells me he's there to buy a fridge. And then homeboy opens the door and basically invited us both to go ahead and haggle in person over the fridge. I was like, that's insane. We had a price. We had a price that we agreed on, and the other guy was like 55. And I was like, you're not helping our case at all. You're not a good negotiator. I went to buy a couch. This should have been plain and simple. You're moving, I need a couch, you need to get rid of a couch, we're done. I show up, even had the truck ready because I've known from before, you gotta have the getaway vehicle in tow. And sure enough, pull up, you know, we're carrying out the couch in pieces, cushions first, also like that, trying to get the couch lifted up out the door and stuff. And this man who is selling the couch keeps trying to upsell me on dolls that he made himself. And you can tell. He made these like knockoff porcelain Cabbage Patch dolls that already freaking look at to begin with. They already look at you, no matter where you are in the room, they got eyes on you. And then he made it so he stuffed them a little bit and then he put a button on it. And when you put the button on it, it was supposed to cry. Like, you know, the way that you buy the toys. Wham, okay, hold the baby, right. Except he must have recorded the cry. Because this doll's cry was haunting. You press the button on this doll to cry because he did it. No one asked him to. Trying to upsell us on these dolls while we trying to lift a couch that is apparently made out of lead because we cannot get it up. Meanwhile, he not helping, presses the button on the doll, and the doll, instead of a wham, wham, it gives a cry that screams 1800s horror movie. This doll presses the button, this doll goes, ah! I'm doing that because he made so the mouth open. I was so genuinely terrified that I left the couch. That's why I need to take a break from Facebook Marketplace because I don't really leave with my items. I don't really... I'll tell you what though, I've been listening to some of Beyonce's album, the new album, the country one, and everyone has what feels like a lot of feelings. Like some people are like, this isn't country. Some people are like, what a beautiful country album. You know, so. And some people are just interested in it because they feel like someone as big as Beyonce making a country album brings people back to at least some semblance of the history of like black origins within country music, right? Because and I don't expect everyone to know. I didn't know. My friend was telling me all of this stuff. I didn't just know this offhand. My friend was telling me that a lot of the instruments that come from early country, because like a lot of country comes from bluegrass, and so some of those bluegrass instruments were instruments that slaves made, right? Because they already had origins in West Africa. Things like the banjo, which were initially made with like gourds, stuff like that, like things that would later become the banjo, things that would become the fiddle, things that would become the tambourine, that were infused in this bluegrass that became this country music. Also, while a lot of the chanting from spirituals ended up as like choral elements and lyrics in some early country songs, and I thought that was so interesting. It's like weirdly buried because everything has to be such a binary for us. This is either black music or white music or anything, and I think people's contributions sometimes get diminished because of that. And then some people were talking about how it's important for Beyonce to make a country album because it is an overshadowing experience of a black person doing country that opens door for more black people who were already doing country, right? And that there's been some resistance to that, which a part of me does kind of get. Like if you're in country and you see Beyonce coming, Wouldn't you be like, we have to stop this? This can't, come on. Don't, please. Yeah, I mean, something seems like super, super white, and then a black person comes, and they're like very talented in it, you know? You let Tiger play a little bit of golf. And not only did he win all the titles, he banged all of your women. Tiger alone, you know. And then you see Beyonce coming, you're like, can I have nothing? So yeah, that's where the resistance is coming from. You know. But that's why I find so fascinating about the origins of a lot of music in America. So much of that music comes originally in some aspect from slavery, whether it's like blues, country, you know, there are rock elements, there are jazz elements. It's amazing that this horrific thing, this really horrible thing, what the people that it happened to turned it into is some of the most beautiful things that we have. I think that's incredible. I really do. I actually think about it a lot, because I don't think that everyone would be able to do that. Like, what if the roles were reversed? What would the white spirituals be? Because we can't take this lightly. We cannot take this lightly. I know I've used the word already in the set, but slavery was an abomination of humanity. No person should ever be able to treat another person this way. And out of all of these horrors came some of the most beautiful things that we've ever heard. Even if just down connecting the lines, connecting the dots to a person that's alive now. They have this music because this thing happened and someone made something beautiful out of it. But what if it was reversed? What if there were whites in the fields tilling the earth under the hot sun, which is not kind to white backs. And as they are tilling this earth, they're trying to find something in all of this devastating trauma to exhale their hurt in as beautiful way as possible, to build community among themselves. And they're tilling the earth as hard as they can, right? And then in the distance you hear, just a small town girl. Living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train. Slave Master Jamal comes out. What's that bullshit I hear? Yo, everybody get back to work, for real. Ain't nobody playing with y'all. I think that one very, very important thing that we have to do as people, like as a country, to move forward is I think we have to genuinely decide who needs to be in jail. Do you know what I mean? Because this is my thing. We can all agree that you do need jail. Like, we've all met someone that was like, this feels like
This feels like jail behavior. I don't want to risk running into this in traffic. I need you out over here, right? So we all have an understanding of the purpose of jail, but we don't seem to agree on everything that someone should go to jail for. But there are some baseline things that we all agree someone should go to jail for. But then people do those things, and then they don't go to jail. And then people do other things. Things that we say are very bad. Things that we say you should go to jail for. And then they go to jail. And then we do change the law while they're in jail. Like, I think about everybody who, was in jail for weed possession in states where weed is currently legal. They went to jail, and I understand that they broke the law, but they went to jail, and then we decided, as people, because it's something that had to be voted on, that, no, this thing shouldn't be illegal. And then they're sitting in jail like, so... what about me? Oh, no? Okay, I'll stay. Wow. Like, I had a friend who went to jail for, weed possession, right? And he did have a lot. He had quite a bit on him. He had, I'll call it an entrepreneurial amount. Yeah. They popped his truck and they were like, oh, you're a businessman. Oh. And he went to jail, and he said one of the craziest experiences was that when he got out and his friend came pick him up and they were driving away from the jail, one of the closest things built near the jail was a dispensary. And so he's like, maybe they're hiring. Because we all know people, in theory, who should be in jail and aren't. You know what I mean? We've all worked with somebody who we know is crazy. Somebody who is like, if anybody gonna shoot up the job, it's gonna be him. And we all know, people in different departments are like, have you met him? Stay away. Don't make eye contact. He crazy, right? Then you go home, you watching Hulu documentaries about true crime and stuff, and then you watching a documentary like, that's everything Kevin do. I guess we just have to wait for him to do something jail-worthy, but all the general habits he does have. I had my own experience. I was at a diner, and I was eating, truly minding my own business, and then there was this guy sitting across from me, and the guy sitting across from me got his meal, and he had soup, and I want to be clear, he had a spoon. That's very important. Everything I say next is unnecessary because he had soup and he had a spoon, all right? Everything required, soup and a spoon, he had it. God gave him everything he needed in this situation, a soup and a spoon to go with the soup. And rather than using the spoon like any normal, maybe tax-paying citizen, this man grabbed 2 forks, shoved them together, dipped them in the soup, lifted it up slightly, and was slurping it while maintaining eye contact with me. And as he did, I was like, lock his ass up. If he doing this, he doing something else. It was crazy as hell.
When I